Hello, Team UAMS. Today is the day. Our virtual health fair kicks off online at 10 a.m. and continues until 1 p.m. Be sure to check out the Get Healthy UAMS website for details and follow us on social media for live events at Get Healthy UAMS. As always, thank you for all you do for our patients, our students, and the people of Arkansas. We value you and want you to have all the tools needed to take the best care of you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Kennedy. I'm the Chief Wellness Officer here at UAMS. So today we've got a lot going on. The agenda went out in the email this morning. So it came from Dr. Patterson at 7 a.m. So you can look that up in your UAMS email inbox. It's also on the Get Healthy website, gethealthy.uams.edu. And we also have a couple of things going on, like the flu shot clinic that's coming soon. It's ready to go. So if you guys are ready, hey guys. All right, well, we hope you guys enjoy the fun.
I'm Tony Boaz.
And I'm Krista Kelly.
And we're with AR Connect.
And AR Connect is a mental health virtual therapy service to help people deal with some of the problems that you're facing, that we're all facing during this COVID-19 pandemic.
So if you're dealing with or trying to deal with anxiety, depression, grief, loss, maybe having some substance use issues, then you can call us for help and you can get an intake with us and get in front of a mental health professional in a short period of time.
And from the comfort of your own home, you don't even have to leave. We're a virtual therapy service. We've got a program that was created by UAMS that's highly secure. You can call us 24/7. We've got a team of triage nurses that'll take your call and help get you help, make sure you're safe, and then we'll schedule you a visit with a therapist in the next week. And we'll start a treatment plan for you. And another big part, you might want to share about our care coordinators.
Yeah, we have care coordinators assigned to each particular case that follows up in the community, and they find resources needed for our clients. This is also a valuable resource to our healthcare workers. We really asked to see if any of them are dealing with this crisis, this pandemic, and need some assistance. Feel free to call. We've seen about 10% of the population that's come through has been healthcare workers. And we are very encouraged about that, and we would love to see more come through.
Yeah, all of our essential workers.
Yes.
And some people during COVID have found this to be a break and being able to work from home, but our essential staff and healthcare providers, people stocking the shelves at Kroger and Walmart, and all of our really essential needs during this time. You're working extra hard and there's no break for you. And so sometimes that can be really, really stressful. What about these parents that are having to educate their children from home? You didn't sign up for that. You don't have your teaching degree, and all of a sudden you're trying to work from home and educate your children. It's stressful. Definitely a lot of challenges we're hearing about, and we're here to help you find ways to cope. We've got teachers that are asked to do a lot of new things and teach in different ways, virtually, teach in the classroom, follow all the protocol. Not sure how hard it would be to keep my kindergartners in masks all day. So there are some challenges just across the board, and we're here to help you.
Ready to go, so give us a call.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to our financial session today, where we are going to test your knowledge on all things finance. So on your screen, you'll see how to join our game. So we'll give everyone a few minutes. You can go to joinmyquiz.com, or you can also click the link in your agenda that you received this morning. Once you get there, you'll want to type in the code 303083 to join our game. So we'll give everyone just a few minutes to get on. We are going to be playing for some fun prizes today. So the top 4 winners will all receive a prize. So we'll wait just 1 more minute and let anyone else hop on. But once we start, you will see the questions on your screen and you'll answer as fast as possible. And after each question, it will populate the leaderboard so we can kind of keep up with the competition. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. So if you're ready, we will begin. Okay, let's see who's on the leaderboard. We have Matthew, Amanda, and Dr. Long. Okay, question 2. How often can you get a free credit report? Okay, after question 2, Amanda's took the lead. Question 3. Where could you get a free credit report with no annual fees? Oh, we have a new leader. Leading us is Tina Wall. And that answer was annualcreditreport.com. Question 4. What is considered an excellent credit score? And after 4 questions, we have Tina Wall in the lead, followed by Kim Coe. What is not a method to improve your credit score? Okay. Oh, and Kim Coase took the lead. Question 6. Your credit score is important because oh, and Kim Coe is holding strong at number 1. Let's go to question 7. Which is a method to fund your college education? Or possibly your child's college education? Ooh, and Stacy Thompson has taken 2nd place, and almost everyone got that question right. An example of a need is and Stacy Thompson has taken the lead. Very good. Okay, question 9. And we'll have 20 questions. Okay, and the leader is Stacy Thompson, but Claire has come into 4th place. Question 10. It's okay to skip payments on your bills some months as long as you pay the next month. And the top 4 are holding steady. Question 11. Buying a home will usually have fewer costs than renting. True or false? Okay, new in the prize. Well, that went too fast for me to see all the names, so we'll just go to the next question. Question 12. What is compound interest? Okay, Stacy is still in first, followed by Will in second. Suppose that by the year 2030, your income has doubled and prices of all goods have doubled too. In 2030, how much will you be able to buy with your 2020 income? Oh, we have a new third and fourth place. Only a few more questions to take home a prize. Question 14. Which of the following credit cards makes sense for a person that pays his balance off every month? Oh, and Dr. G has now taken fourth place. Question 15. This is going to test your math skills just a bit. Oh, and Hannah is now taking third place. Just a few more questions. This is question 16. Which of the following is not typically associated with borrowing? Okay, and after 16 questions, Stacy is still in the lead. Which of the following actions typically changes a person's credit score the most? Stacy, Hannah, Dr. G, and Saki are our top 4. Question 18. And Stacy is holding a strong lead. Okay, question 19. Only 2 left to go to take home our first door prizes of the day. Which of the following is true of a health savings account? Okay, with 1 question left, we've got Stacy, Hannah, Dr. G, and Joseph F. Last question. Okay, and our winners of the financial session are Stacy Thompson, Hannah, Dr. G, and Joseph F. Congratulations. If you all will please, you 4, if you will please email gethealthy@uams.edu, we will tell you how to claim your prize. And one more time, that was Stacy Thompson, Hannah, Dr. G, and Joseph F. Please email gethealthy@uams.edu, and congratulations. Thank you for attending this session. And if you liked this interactive quiz, we do have another one that will test your nutrition and health knowledge at 11:30 this morning. But we have a lot of great stuff planned today. We hope that you'll stick around and join us. Thank you.
Welcome to the Virtual Health Fair for 2020. My name is Adam. I'm the manager of the UAMS Fitness Center. We are here for you, the employees, to offer you a great facility to come in and exercise. Membership is $15 a month. We're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And we do that because we know a lot of you don't work a regular 9-to-5 office job. We want to be available to you at all hours of the day. We've got a full complimentary room of weight machines and cardio that you can see behind me. We also have a full free weight room where you can deadlift and squat and lift heavy dumbbells if that's your thing as well. Be on the lookout in the next couple months as we are in the process of upgrading the equipment that we offer here at the fitness center. And we hope to see you soon. Thanks for attending the health fair today.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm the fitness coordinator for UAMS Fitness Center. Welcome to the first virtual health fair. I'm going to go through just a few different exercises that you can do at your desk, starting out with a chair squat. So you can come right in front of your chair, just using your chair as a frame of reference for how deep that you can get into that squat. So you don't have to go super deep. We're probably wearing dress pants or a dress at work. So go ahead. Keep your feet about hip width apart. Your gaze is forward, chest is up. We're going to push our hips backwards. Just coming down, hovering over that chair, and back up. Taking it down, and up. 2 more. And last one here. As we're sitting here, we're keeping that core engaged, belly button is fine. Again, chest is up, hips are back. That's going to work our legs, quads, hamstrings, glutes. Then we are going to go into tricep dips. So working the back of your upper arm here. You can go ahead, sit down into your chair. You really want to focus on protecting your shoulders here, so keeping your hands close by your sides. So tucking those hands in by those hips. You can come out a little bit on your chair. We want to make sure that our spine is kind of close to that chair. So you can do straight legs, bent legs, whichever your preference is here. Just taking it down and up. So those fingertips are facing forward here. You don't have to go super far down into this exercise to feel it. And last one. So again, we are working the back of that upper arm there, protecting those shoulders by keeping our back straight, our posture and spine nice and neutral. Next, we are going to go into a push-up. So you can either do this at your desk, on a wall, or you can do it on your chair. So I'm using the handles of the chair here for better wrist support. We're going to go into a plank position. So if you need a little bit more stability, keep your feet out a little further apart, about hip width apart, and we're keeping, again, a nice neutral spine. Our head is in line with that spine, coming down and up. So you don't have to go super far down into that push-up. If you need to go just a little bit, that is totally fine. Again, making sure that those hips aren't pushing back. Keeping a straight spine here. For our last exercise, we're going to go to the back of our chair, working those glutes, hamstrings, just using that chair as a support here. We're going to put weight on our left foot, and then we are going to hover that right foot back, and then bringing it in. So as we're pushing back, we're squeezing those glutes, engaging that core. Again, belly button is fine, and then back up in line with that foot. Last one this side, and then we're going to go to the right side, pushing that weight onto that right leg. We want to keep a nice soft knee there, don't lock it out. Keeping weight onto that chair. And 3, 2, last one.
Hi, everyone. We hope that you're having fun. So our next segment is with Matt Boone. He is a licensed social worker. He's the Director of Programming and Outreach for our Student Wellness Program. And if you haven't taken one of his mindfulness sessions, you really need to take the time and do so. At noon every day, Monday through Friday, we have a mindfulness session that's hosted by the Mindfulness Program. If you'd like a link for that, you can find that on the Get Healthy website. So Matt, I'm ready for you to take it away.
Okay, Natalie, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So today I'll be talking the next 20 minutes or so about working through stress. And my hope is that this approach to stress will be a little bit different from what you're used to seeing and the kind of messages that you're used to giving yourself around stress. So usually, we're all looking for some kind of balance, right? The perfect balance between work and life and play and our spirituality and our families. And we have this ideal in our minds of this kind of perfect balance, a balance that is pristine and uniform and always works out for us. And we often find that we're failing a little bit according to that ideal. We're not living up to it. And then we think, what's wrong with us? But I would suggest that balance is more like this. There is no perfect balance. There is no work-life balance unicorn out there that we can somehow find. We can keep striving, but we also have to be kind to ourselves along the way because it's hard. And we sort of know the things we need to be doing. If you are a medical professional or you live in the world and spend any time on the internet, you kind of know that what you need to do for stress are things like get a good sleep every night and eat healthfully and get regular exercise and spend time with family, social networks and friends, whatever they look like. But often we find that time works against us. In fact, time can be a little bit of a demon, plaguing us, telling us that we don't have time to do it all, and leaving us feeling behind, like we can't keep up. Well, what we'll do today is we'll re-envision self-care for a moment. I'll suggest practices to help you engage more meaningfully in self-care. And then at the end, I'll give you a small call to action about making a difference with your self-care. So what do we think about when we think about self-care? If you Google self-care and come up with a bunch of images, you probably get something like this, like it's a massage, it's a bubble bath, it's getting your toenails painted. But you know, this message can become part of that ideal that we're never living up to. And as a result of that ideal, in our minds, we might develop what I call the inner self-care tyrant. And I'm wondering what your inner self-care tyrant says. I should be exercising 7 days a week. What's wrong with me? I can't even do 6. I wouldn't feel stressed if I would just meditate. As a meditation practitioner and teacher, I love how much people beat themselves up with how much they're not meditating. Or why am I not journaling more? Everything would be better if I was just journaling. Or can't I sleep enough? I'm not getting enough sleep. Or, you know, insert here. Everything would be better if I would just, you decide. And noticing in that social comparison kind of way, everyone else is balancing their life much better than I am. Whew. That's really hard to live up to, and not a very kind message. So what about another kind of self-care? A self-care in which we turn our attention toward and our energy toward those kinds of practices like sleeping, eating, taking breaks, spending time with family and loved ones. But we do it in a way that is softer, gentler, more open, and less self-condemning. So to do this, I'm going to suggest 3 practices that will help you engage in this different kind of self-care, whatever the self-care practice is. I'll invite you to think flexibly, practice self-compassion, and live your values. Let's start with thinking flexibly. So if you're paying any attention to your mind and to the minds of the people around you, you will notice that we have a lot of thoughts. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of thoughts over a course of a day, and God knows how many over the course of our lives. And it can feel a little bit like this, like a crowded space, and not nearly as beautiful. In fact, it can be the source of a lot of frustration and suffering for us. I'm going to point you to three categories of thoughts that can make our lives difficult and tend to show up kind of universally in stress, in anxiety, in depression, in all the things that I see in my office and all the things that we suffer with. This is an exhaustive list, but it's pretty useful to start with these and start noticing them in your mind. I call these thinking traps. And the first one of these thinking traps is probability overestimation. That's overestimating the likelihood that something bad is going to happen. So you've probably noticed that humans are really into predicting. Like, we predict tomorrow's weather, we predict who's going to win the next football game, we predict who's going to win the next election. But you know, we're not very good at it. Even the so-called experts are rarely more than 50% accurate despite their expertise. And that's no better than chance. So notice if you tend to do that, to predict that bad things are going to happen. The next thinking trap is catastrophizing. You may have heard this word. This is making a mountain out of a molehill. Or more specifically, not only will a bad thing happen, but that it's going to be really bad or a catastrophe if it does happen. It's not just a little flood, it's a giant flood. Think to yourself and notice if that's what your mind offers you sometimes. Does it kind of inflate how bad things could possibly be? And check your experience. How often do things end up that way? The final category of thoughts are shoulds. Shoulds are mental rules for how the world should be, people should behave, and if you point it inside you, how you, the people, should think and feel. You usually can recognize them because in your mind, you think something like, I should be doing more work, or I shouldn't feel so stressed. But when we pay attention to our experience, we notice that we just feel what we feel. And sometimes it's harder to push ourselves to do more, or what have you. So shoulds, though, having rules can be useful for us. They can also tyrannize us and can be like this guy, scolding us for not doing more or not feeling the right thing. So how do we respond to these? Well, first, let's summarize them a little bit. So here's an example of probability overestimation. There's no way I'm going to get a good grade in this class. Do you think things like that? I know some people watching might not just be students, but I'm gearing this towards students. If I don't get a good grade, I'm totally screwed. That's catastrophizing. Or I should think positively. I shouldn't feel so stressed. I should be studying right now. Those are should statements. Think about how useful these thoughts are. Not so useful often, though they tend to show up for most of us. Well, I'm going to offer you a way to respond lightly. Here's a quick method. And my slides will be available, and this video will be available, so you can review it. You don't have to memorize it right now. So first, label. Notice the thinking trap. Is it probability overestimation, catastrophizing, shoulds, or something else? Like trying to read people's minds or thinking in all or nothing ways. Then examine its utility. Once you've noticed the thought and labeled it, is this thought useful right now for what I'm going after? Is it the right tool for the job? Or is it maybe a hammer when we need a wrench? Then ask yourself, is this a habit? Is this thought familiar? Have I thought things like this in similar situations? Chances are your thought is a habit. In fact, most thoughts are habits. And when we begin to recognize that, we begin to notice that our minds aren't these like master diagnosticians of our own behavior and the world. They're just spitting out the thoughts that they spit out habitually in these kinds of situations. And then finally, when you've noticed all that, labeled, examined the utility, noticed if it's a habit, then take action, right? Our hands and our feet and our voices can do things that are different from what our mind is telling us. So what would I be doing right now if I wasn't focusing on this thought? What's the next action you would take? So let's apply this real quick. Let's go back to one of those thoughts. If I don't get a good grade, I'm totally screwed. Let's label it. It's catastrophizing for sure. It's imagining if a bad thing happens, like not getting a good grade, then it's going to be really bad. Like it's a slippery slope to my whole life falling apart. Then ask about its utility. Is it useful? Not so much. It takes me away from focusing on my studying, right? If I'm focusing on that thought, I'm not actually absorbing the material, and I'm working at cross purposes to what the thought is trying to do for me, which is protect me. Is it a habit? You might say to yourself, it's definitely a habit. I tend to think this every time I sit down to study during a time crunch. Then finally, what's the action? I'm going to take a deep breath, stretch a bit, and refocus on the concept in front of me. This is what I really want to do in life, helping others. This test, however exhausting, however tiring, is part of the bigger picture of something I care about. This points to my third practice I'll offer you, which is values, but we'll get there in a second. So that is thinking flexibly, and it's something you can develop a skill at and practice on paper or in your mind to give you just a little bit of distance from the kind of negative stuff that our minds kick out all the time. Our second practice is practicing self-compassion. So a lot of times we talk about, that person would behave differently or they'd do things differently if they thought better of themselves, if they had higher self-esteem. Well, it turns out that self-esteem is a hard thing to change. And when we do, it actually can have some unwanted side effects, like people being too focused on themselves or, a little bit narcissistic. And maybe we're confusing the outcome for the process. Like people tend to have higher self-esteem when they do things that give them a sense of accomplishment. So let's go at something else, because you're not always accomplishing something. So what about self-compassion? It's the antidote to that kind of negativity that we offer ourselves. Self-compassion is not cheery, positive thinking, and it's not ignoring what's hard. It's more about offering yourself space, kindness, and grace. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas at Austin has created a conceptualization of self-compassion that involves three elements: self-kindness, which means being gentle and understanding with ourselves rather than harshly critical and judgmental; common humanity, which is feeling connected with others in the experience of life rather than feeling isolated and alienated by our suffering. So in a moment of suffering, kind of tuning into the sense that you are not the only one, that other people are going through this too. And then mindfulness. This is a specific facet of mindfulness, which is being able to hold our experience, so like our thoughts and our feelings, the stuff that happens inside of us, in this kind of balanced awareness, like just watching it without trying to push it away or stirring it up, exaggerating it. I often will say to myself and to the people I work with, feel your feelings, don't feed them or fight them. So imagine the next time you were suffering in some way. You've experienced a loss, a disappointment, an anger at the world. And instead of lashing out or lashing in, you offered yourself words of kindness. This is hard right now. It's hard to be in this place. It's hard to feel this. The kind of thing that you might offer your child, or, if your kitten or your puppy was sick, that kind of softness, but directed towards you. I promise you, it's not going to make you work less hard or care less about your life. It's just going to make all that easier. Then what if in that moment of pain, you recognize that this is something other people go through? Not in a way that kind of beats yourself up and says, everyone deals with this, get over it, but more like, wow, this is what connects me to other people. We all feel, our hearts all hurt. Think about how that might offer you a little bit more lightness as you carry your pain. And then finally, rather than turning away from whatever feeling you're having, an anger, a shame, a sadness, a stress, you just let it be. You were just aware of it, didn't push it away, but also didn't stir it up or add to the fire. Part of you may think, that sounds all well and good, but what if I just feel this forever? Well, it turns out all that criticizing yourself doesn't actually make feelings go away. Feelings pass on their own. This is the life course of every emotion that ever existed in the history of humanity, right? Everything we feel has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if we don't try to push it down and we don't try to stir it up or exaggerate it, it's just going to go away on its own. We don't need to do anything to it. Sure, we can maybe distract ourselves a little bit or talk to a friend or do some journaling. But I would suggest doing that in the service of letting the emotion pass on its own, not in the service of trying to make it go away. Because it's really making it go away that makes it extend and come back and plague you and push you around. Dr. Neff offers this practice, a little words of kindness that capture all the facets of of self-compassion, self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness that I mentioned before. So when you're hurting, you might say something like to yourself, like, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion I need. Those are Dr. Neff's words, but she encourages people in her book, Self-Compassion, to come up with their own words. Like I might say to myself, this is hard right now. This shows up sometimes in life. This is stuff that other people experience too. I'm going to be kind to myself now. I'm going to offer myself a moment of compassion. If you have a spiritual practice, you could weave in a sense of the spirit or a higher being offering you this as well. Choose your own words. You can also physicalize it. Dr. Neff suggests a number of practices where we take the kind of gentle, loving gestures that we would offer to someone else and we offer them to ourselves, like putting our hands on our heart, maybe even rubbing it there, or even offering yourself a hug. I know, the guy who's too cool inside me thinks that sounds really cheesy, but I sometimes do it, and it softens me, and it makes it easier to carry something so I can do what's important next in my life. So if you're thinking flexibly, not getting entangled in all those thoughts, and you're offering yourself self-compassion, being kind when you might otherwise want to be harsh towards yourself, from there, you can focus on your values. So values have a lot of different definitions in our culture, and I'm going to offer you a perspective on values that may be similar to what you know, but maybe a little bit different. So from this perspective, in the field of psychology that I operate in, values are directions. They point you in the direction that you have chosen for your life, even when things are hard. We often talk about values as things like family or work or citizenship. I would call these values domains. Like, these are the categories in which we live out our values. But that's the easy part. The part that requires a little bit of work is thinking about, how do we want to be in those domains? So I encourage you to pick words and phrases that describe meaningful patterns of ongoing action. Like, do you want to be compassionate, hardworking? Do you want to make an impact? Do you want to be curious? That's what we can choose. We can choose our actions. We can choose our stance. We can choose how we want to be or act on an ongoing basis. We can't necessarily choose whether we feel stressed or anxious or sad or angry in a moment, that hard stuff. We can't choose to feel compassionate in a moment, but we all know that we can act in a compassionate way. And often, but not always, our feelings follow our actions. These kinds of values are personally chosen. Though you may receive them from your family and your culture, and perhaps your religious traditions, those sorts of values that you kind of look at as a kind of conscious human being and say, yes, that works for me, and I choose that. So what will you choose? What kind of words do you want to bring with you, say, today, to your work, to your life, to your family, and to your self-care? These are just the words I could come up with, in a 5-minute brainstorm. So let's put it into practice. So let's say your values domain is education. Imagining you're a student, perhaps. And the values words you might pick are curious, engaged, collaborative, connected, and helping others. Things that you can control, right? Things you can do with your hands, your feet, and your voice. So you might develop a goal to develop close relationships with like-minded classmates. Like, that's an outcome, right? You can't control that, but you can put your energy into it. So what's an action you can take in the service of that? So maybe you invite 2 to 3 folks you've just met to Zoom coffee. Although at this point, I think we're all just a little bit tired of Zoom. The thing is, values dignify the normal pain and discomfort of living. Values aren't just about how you move your feet, they're about carrying your pain a little bit more lightly. So imagine that you are studying for an exam, or perhaps if you are a professional, like working with a difficult client and reviewing the chart. This is a hard moment. But what if this was about something bigger, like your values, being curious, engaged, collaborative, connected, and helping others? Isn't it kind of different in that context? Or what if you just got some information, a patient complaint, or a colleague had given you some feedback that didn't sit well and kind of hurt? But your stance was to be curious, engaged, collaborative, connected, and helping others. What if that's where you stood from? What would be different? How might you carry that pain differently? And these are words that don't have to live just in that one domain. They can live in any domain. Like, you can bring that to your family or anything you do in life. It's a way of having what you have, but putting your focus in front of you and not losing sight of what matters. So what's the practice again as we wrap up? Begin by thinking flexibly. Notice what your mind offers you. Notice that catastrophizing, probability overestimating, should statements, and all the judgments that you might make about yourself and others. And just notice. Notice the habits. Notice how useful they are, and take action that's not necessarily driven by those thoughts. Then practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when things are hard. You don't need to kick yourself when you're down. And being kind to yourself is not going to make you lazy or give up. It's going to smooth the way. And then finally, from that perspective where you're softer towards yourself, you're thinking flexibly, live your values, put your energy towards what really matters. And when it comes to stress, maybe that means sleeping a little bit more, eating healthfully, getting some exercise, spending time with family, friends, and community, whatever your community looks like, and maybe even getting that massage. But remember, there is no perfect balance. You will fall away, it will teeter, it will be a little bit precarious. Think of it more like this. Just keeping yourself up, doing the best you can, maybe a little bit wobbly, imperfect, but good enough. I'm Matt Boone. I work with the Student Wellness Program. There's my email. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be with you today. Thanks a lot.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us in Matt's talk. Our prize for this session is sponsored by the UAMS Auxiliary, and it goes to Kimberly Colbert. So Kimberly, go ahead and email gethealthy@uams.edu to claim your prize.
Hi, I'm Marcia Dunbar, and I work in volunteer services here at UAMS. I'm representing the auxiliary today. I'm very excited that we're able to participate in the virtual health fair this year and to be able to share with you all a little bit about what we do. I am very fortunate to be able to work with some amazing people throughout our hospital, and the auxiliary is there to support each of those individuals. Especially through this pandemic, we've been able to provide some staff support in the way of lunches and snacks, trying to provide those items of comfort when you all are really overwhelmed and stressed. And there have been some days. So we are so glad that we are able to support you all. We also help support our patients and families. While during this time we have not had any visitors here on campus, we still reach out to our families to make sure that they have every avenue in which to communicate with their loved one while they're here. It's so important that we are able to provide those comforts to them as well. Now, we also have patients here who sometimes have insecurities, whether it be financial or shelter insecurities, and there are opportunities where we're able to bridge the gap and help in ways that ensures that our patients are safely discharged, which is hugely important. I'm inviting you today to help the auxiliary. You can become a member. The fee to become an auxiliary member is only $10. What a steal. And you get a lovely newsletter each month to let you know all the amazing things that we're doing throughout the hospital. We would really appreciate the support and welcome you onto our Team UAMS Auxiliary Board. We have 12 board members right now who are actively reaching out into the community to spread the news about what we do here at UAMS, and they represent us in such an amazing way. You will get to meet those lovely individuals when you become a member of our auxiliary. It's very simple to do so. You're just going to go online to the UAMS health page and search UAMS Medical Center Auxiliary, and the link will pop up. And you just follow that through. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to be able to talk to you more about the ways in which we help those in need here throughout our campus and to get to know you.
Hey everyone. Our next segment is understanding the nutrition facts labels, and it's going to be with Kayla Marie Jackson. She's a registered dietitian here at UAMS in the outpatient program. She's going to take you through some slides, but she's also going to give you some real life examples. So Kayla Marie, you ready?
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to walk you through just reading a nutrition facts label, and hopefully I'm able to teach you something new or just help simplify reading a label that can maybe be intimidating. So let's get started.
First, I just like to break the label into 4 different sections. So if you can see here, we have it color coordinated into 4 different sections. To me, that takes some of the maybe in the looking at the label and making it feel overwhelming to you away from it. So we have serving size, calories, nutrients. This is where most of our questions lie and where we'll spend some time just walking through that and simplifying it in percent daily value. All right, first, section 1. This is the very first thing we look at when we look at a nutrition label. No matter what your dietary needs are, what specific things you're trying to look for, you always want to start looking at the very top of your nutrition label for the serving information. So I broke it into 3 steps here. Look at the number of servings in the package, step 1. So oftentimes I do this just as kind of a reference for a product. Is this product a single serving product, or is it maybe a family size product? This can also be helpful. Say you have gotten a smaller bag of something and maybe you've started eating the whole bag, and then you turn around and look at it just to reference maybe how many servings you've eaten, and you realize something you thought was a single serving is actually more than a single serving. So that's usually how I reference servings per container. Step 2, look at serving size. So if you don't take anything else away from this, this can be your magic tool to help you understand how much of what you're getting you're actually consuming. So serving size for this product says 1 cup. Oftentimes when patients are trying to lose weight or watch their carbohydrate content, or they're not losing weight but they're counting their calories, we often go back to making sure they're measuring to make sure they are actually consuming the serving size that they think they're consuming. So serving size here, also it's important to understand that everything listed underneath this is referencing how many nutrients are in 1 serving size of the product. So 1 cup, all the rest of the information is how much is in 1 cup. So step 3, I said pause and familiarize yourself with how many servings you're eating compared to the serving size. Calories, number 3, category number 2 here. Calories are just simply a measure of energy. They have a lot of negative connotations to them, but we need calories to function. Our calories come from different sources, our macronutrients, carbs, fat, or protein. It's just important to reference how many calories are in a product. If you have a goal of maybe weight loss or weight gain, they're just simply a measure of energy that our body needs. All right, nutrients. So this has where the bulk of our nutrition label lies and most of the confusion occurs. So we say, use this section to support your personalized dietary needs. That could look different for everyone. If you say you're a diabetic patient, you may want to reference how many total carbohydrates are in your product. Or maybe you have a cardiac condition and you're trying to limit your sodium. So this is where you're gonna look. So just kind of start at the top and work my way down the product label, kind of just mentioning things I hear often with patients and hopefully bringing some clarity to the different sections. So total fat, you'll see that each row that is bolded is going to have, some of them are going to have indented rows below them. So total fat not only includes saturated fat, it also includes trans fats, so all of the fat in the entire product. Now, saturated fat is something that we want to limit. That's going to be our fats that are solid at room temperature. They come from animal products, or they're solid at room temperature, and those are going to be what we say are not our heart healthy fats. Trans fats are also fats that are mostly limited and mostly found in packaged products that we want to limit. But you can see at the very top, total fat includes all of the fat in the product. Cholesterol, that is just a referencing how much cholesterol, dietary cholesterol is in a product. Dietary cholesterol does influence your cholesterol numbers, but it also is influenced by other things that may be going on in your body. Sodium, as I mentioned earlier, that's something that you are going to want to limit if you have any fluid retention problems, any cardiac conditions, and milligrams listed there. That may be confusing to you. You may have heard to stick under a 2,000 milligram per day diet. And that's something that's kind of thrown out there for cardiac patients, or 2,300 milligram per day diet. So that can be a good reference. You're looking at how many milligrams. And we'll talk about the percent daily value later. Total carbohydrates. So this is the main one that tends to have confusion associated with it. This label says total carb, 34 grams. And as you can see, it has 3 different rows indented below it. So everything below it, including the sugars, is included in the total carbohydrate. So if you're a diabetic patient counting your carbohydrates, you don't need to look at the line that says total sugars. You just look at the line that says total carbohydrate. And then lastly, before the micronutrients at the bottom, we have protein, 15 grams. So again, this is the area of the label we're going to reference for specific nutrient needs if you're needing to limit something or if you're trying to get more of something. You can see over here on this column, I said nutrients to get less of: saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. If you have anything like heart disease or diabetes, those would be things that you would want to get less of. Nutrients to get more of: fiber found in our fruits and vegetables, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. I made an extra slide, although these are the sugars is still part of our nutrient part of our label, just to kind of clarify, because I get this question with almost every patient each day. So what is the difference between total sugar and added sugars in a product? Total sugar includes all sugar in the product, including sugars naturally present and sugars that have been added. Added sugars are added during the processing of food. So a good example of this I like to use is yogurt. Yogurt has naturally occurring sugar in the form of lactose, that's milk sugar, but oftentimes they are sweetened with fruit and they have that added to the product. So although it has, maybe in this product, we could say it's a yogurt label here, it could have 8 grams of naturally occurring sugar. It has 7 grams of fruit and sweet added sugar to it, with a total of 15 grams of sugar. Percent daily value. The percent daily value on a nutrition label is based off a 2,000 calorie per day diet. So it's not always applicable to everyone. I find it useful as just a reference tool to think if something is low or high. Your calorie needs may be different than 2,000 per day, so it won't be exact for you. In general, and this is a legal term, something that is 5% or less of the daily value can be considered low. So on this product label, just down at the bottom here, we have iron 8%. So nothing is considered low on this label. 20% or higher is considered high. So this is a good example when we look at the sodium line. Although I mentioned the milligrams per day earlier, 37% of your dietary sodium for your whole day, that would be considered high. All right, so that is just kind of wrapping up, walking through that nutrition label. And so we have some examples here that just to kind of make it practical. Our first example is going to be some lightly salted almonds. You can see here something I'll tell a lot of my cardiac patients is to look for just right there on the side. You can see the American Heart Association emblem. And that's actually an emblem that products can only put on them if they are considered low in sodium. So that's a quick visual reference. If you're shopping, you can look for that logo. So let's look at the label. First thing, like we mentioned earlier, serving size, 1 ounce. And then you can see below it, it gives you an approximate about 28 nuts. So that is important. I know some people think it might be crazy to count out 28 nuts, but that's how you're truly going to understand accuracy. And I often tell patients, maybe you aren't going to count out everything, 12 chips, 28 nuts for the rest of your life. But until you get a true understanding of maybe if you're underestimating or overestimating portion size, it's important to practice that just to kind of gain that understanding. The thing I would mention here is, and a lot of people have questions about nuts, is that nuts are a fat. So you can see total fat, 16 grams, but you can see that saturated fat is only 1 gram. So this is why we'll say nuts are a fat, but they're a healthy fat. They have as you can see, they're listed monounsaturated and polyunsaturated heart-healthy fats. The other thing with the nuts, in particular salted nuts, these are lightly salted. So if we look at the milligrams of sodium, 40 milligrams, and then we reference that daily value. It's less than 5% of that daily value, 2%. So those are low sodium products. So this would be a great choice as a snack or just with your lunch, really anytime you find that you want them. All right, next we have Cascadian Farm Coconut Cashew Cereal. And this label, if you look at that picture on the right, is interesting because this is a dual column label. In column number 1, it's referencing how many calories are in a bowl, which is actually how many are in a serving size, 2/3 cup. And then it just gives you an idea to have it as a snack for 1 ounce. So this label is a little bit different than the one we looked at earlier. A lot of times cereal will also have a dual label where it includes the milk, but this does not include milk. So again, just something to kind of think about. If you're having milk with your cereal, you have to do the math there. The other thing to think about with cereal is a lot of times they have a lot of added sugar. They're also mostly carbohydrates because they're made from grains, which is not a bad thing. But this product, as you can see on the front, it says no added sugar, sweetened with fruit, which is really unique. And when you look under total carb and then you go to total sugars, and underneath total sugars, added sugars, you can see it says 0 grams. So the sugar in this product is coming from it naturally. No added high fructose corn syrup or anything like that. Our next snack is salted chickpeas. So these are dried chickpeas or garbanzo beans, same thing. You can see a serving size is 1 ounce. I think chickpeas are a product people might kind of be confused about. I often hear they're surprised how many carbs are in them. They are a legume, I believe, and so they're going to contain carbohydrates and protein. The thing to look at here that's a positive is that it has a good amount of fiber. You can see under total carb, it lists dietary fiber, 5 grams. And again, using that daily value reference as a reference, that's 20%. So we can say it's a good source of dietary fiber. And they have a good balance. They have 6 grams of protein, 18 grams of carb, and only 3 grams of fat. So we can say this is a good, well-balanced snacking option. Now for serving size being 1 ounce, it doesn't tell us how many that is. So that could be something that you either weighed out initially and see how many it is, and then you can kind of have a visual reference for the next times that you eat them. All right, I think our next to last product is Dave's Killer Bread, the good seed variety. And you can see this is a thin slice, meaning it's thinner sliced and it's smaller. So most slices of bread, you can see it on the front there. It gives a lot of the nutrition information right on the front of the label. It has 70 calories, whereas a lot of our slices of bread have 120 calories or so, but that's just because it's smaller. The thing to point out on bread, and the question I get the most would be, what is the difference between whole grain, whole wheat? What do I need to eat? So for that, we're just going to kind of jump from the nutrition facts label and look at the ingredients. And you can see that the very first ingredient listed there is organic whole wheat. That means that this product was made with the germ, the endosperm, and the bread of and the bran of the grain. So it still has all those good nutrients, the B vitamin, the fiber, all of that. So that's generally the difference between a white bread and a wheat bread. It contains more nutrients and it contains more fiber, meaning more healthful and appropriate for a healthy diet. The other thing to make a point out is that this has a lot of different grains on it. So a product can be multi-grain, but not necessarily whole grain. So that's why you reference that ingredients list and look for the ingredients to say whole wheat. The other thing about this product is that you can see that, again, bread is a carbohydrate. A lot of people won't eat bread, but in comparison, when we look at total carb and we reference that daily value column, it says 5%. So that's actually not a very high source of carbohydrate. So bread can be appropriate in a healthy diet. All right, lastly, our product is Kodiak Cakes Oatmeal Power Cup in the flavor chocolate chip. You You can see right off the bat on the front, it says 100% whole grains. That's going to come from the oat. And right there on the front, 14 grams of protein. So oats alone don't contain that much protein. So that's where I would go and reference that nutrition label. And I see that it has pea protein. It's going to have a pea and rice blend to have that protein added into it. To look back at the nutrition facts label, serving size 1 container, so that's easy and convenient to take with you. Calories, 240 grams. It's an appropriate size amount of calories for breakfast. Maybe you would even pair a piece of fruit or something with it. And lastly, let's look at total carb on the nutrition facts label. So we have total carb, 36 grams, and you can see it does have 12 grams of added sugars. Just for a reference for grams, 1 teaspoon of sugar has approximately 4 grams of sugar. So oftentimes we read labels and can't visualize what grams actually look like. So 1 teaspoon, 4 grams. So it does have a good amount of added sugar to it, but it still could be an appropriate breakfast. All right, so that is the end of walking through the nutrition facts label. Hopefully, we simplified some things for you. And just to mention, like I said, Natalie said earlier, my name is Kayla Marie Jackson, and I am an outpatient dietitian here at UAMS. I see all of our UAMS employees for their nutrition needs. So if you watch this presentation, but you want to meet with a dietitian to just learn more about nutrition and your specific diet, you can go to the UAMS Get Healthy website and find the phone number to call our scheduler and make an appointment with the outpatient dietitians. And thank you.
All right, so our next prize for this session is sponsored by the Auxiliary Gift Shop once again, and it goes to CJ Carroll. So CJ, go ahead, email gethealthy@uams.edu, and we will get you that prize.
I'm the program director for Arkansas Employee Assistance Program. I've got a few slides to show you today that'll just go over this benefit that you have that we're very happy to provide for you. Share those with you. So first of all, what is an employee assistance program? You can see from this cartoon from the far side, Bob is not himself today. Things are going on in his life, and he may not be so great at defusing this bomb that is his job. EAP is designed to help people deal with all sorts of problems, whether they're personal, whether it's work stress, anything that gets in the way of a person being 100% the best employee they can be. That is the purview of Employee Assistance Program. So why do people come to the EAP? We see a lot of people for relationship issues, family, marital, children. We also see a lot of folks for workplace stress, how to get along better with your coworkers, or how to get along better with your boss. Some people can come in for work-life balance, how to manage their time and their energy better. We do assessments for addictions and make some recommendations for treatment if that's necessary, or community support if that's what's appropriate. An important thing to remember about Employee Assistance Program is that this is a confidential service. We don't call your supervisor and let them know that you're coming. You don't have to tell your supervisor you have an appointment with Employee Assistance. We don't report this to Human Resources. This is completely confidential. Now, there are 3 situations that the law requires that we breach confidentiality just to maintain safety, and that would be if someone is suicidal they're homicidal, or a child or an elderly person is being abused. Who is eligible for UAMS EAP? All UAMS employees and their immediate family members. We identify family members as those who are benefit eligible. So if you could purchase insurance for your family member, then they are eligible, even if you have not purchased the insurance for them. People who are not in that benefit eligible category, but are still part of your family and part of what worries you and keeps you up at night. We do oftentimes do a one-time consultation and help that person figure out where they can get the help that they need. Okay, so when are we available? We are available by phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have an on-call counselor who can deal with any emergencies. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then we also have appointments that are scheduled at 6 and 7 o'clock in the evenings, depending on the counselor. Where are services provided? We have services all around the state. We have employees all around the state of Arkansas. So for face-to-face sessions, our main office is Little Rock. In Little Rock is Freeway Medical Center on the 6th floor. But we also have twice a week, we have a counselor that goes to UAMS main campus in the Ron building, also on the 6th floor, and you can ask to see a person there. We recently started going over to Arkansas Children's Hospital so that we would be available for the UAMS employees that work over at Children's Hospital. We have offices in Hot Springs and Conway that we go to twice a month. We go to Fort Smith once a week. And then in Fayetteville, we have a full-time campus counseling office on the Fayetteville Northwest UAMS campus. One of the options that people have really been taking advantage of this year is counseling by phone or video counseling. We offer all three of these modalities to talk with a counselor and deal with issues. I'll give you a web link at the end of this slide deck that will let you set up video counseling or send a message to your provider. So workplace services. Besides seeing individuals and families, we also offer training and critical incident interventions, supervisor and department consultations. Here are just a few of the top training topics that we offer. One of the things we like is that we're able to respond to whatever you're requesting. So long as it has to do with behavioral health issues, feel free to ask for a different kind of training topic or just call us and do a consult. We'll talk about what kind of trainings we might be able to come and do that would deal with the issues that your team is working on. Now, critical incident intervention. This is always a question. What is a critical incident? A critical incident is anytime there's the potential for someone to be overwhelmed, that their normal means of coping doesn't feel like it's enough. This could be a coworker, something happened with the coworker in a small team or a larger team. It can be a natural disaster in the area. It might be something that happens in the course of a workday that's just beyond what we normally deal with. Every team is different, so supervisors can call us. We'll talk through with them what would be best for their team. And a counselor will come out to location if that's what is best for your team. This is how you get a hold of us. Of course, 501-686-2588 or our 800 number, 800-542-6021. This is the number that is answered 24/7. Also, our website is on here. We have links to organizations. We also have links to newsletters and articles that we write that could be of benefit to lots of different people. The last website address there is our online portal. If you go on there and sign up, you will be able to request a session, look at our different counselors, see when their appointments are available, as well as send a message to your counselor that is private and encrypted. You can request a session and you'll usually get an answer back within 1 business day. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Thank you.
Okay, Team UAMS, are you ready to test your knowledge on all things nutrition and health? If you played along with us this morning during the finance session, you know the drill. But if this is your first time joining today, go ahead and go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the code 492416. You can also download the app if you have a quick second, or you can click the link that went out in the agenda earlier today. So we'll give everyone a couple minutes to get on, to get their name in the drawing. So we are playing for 4 more door prizes. The top 4 will win a goodie bag. Okay, we'll wait just 1 more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you all join us virtually at our first ever virtual health fair. Okay, we are gonna go ahead and get started. Hope you're ready. Question 1. This food group is your body's best source of energy. And our first leader is Gina. And that one was a tricky one, but the correct answer was breads and cereals. Question 2. Which of these is not considered a nutrient? and we have a new leader. That correct answer was fiber. Question 3. Which of these is added to the food label because people sometimes don't eat enough of this? Oh, and we have a new second place, Amy. And that correct answer was calcium. Most people got that. Question 4. Which of these is required on the food label? And if you tuned in to our last session, I might have helped you on this one. And D is holding on to the lead through 5. The bread, cereal, rice, and pasta group is a source of Amy and Braden taking second and third. Let's go to question 6. Citrus fruits are an excellent source of and Mallory has now taken 4th place, which also claims a prize at the end. Question 7. Foods from the meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, eggs, and nuts group are an important source of after 7. Oh, Amy has taken the lead. Question 8. Which food contains the most fat? and Jen have now moved up into second and third place. And most of you did get brownies. Of course, our favorite food group has the most fat, sadly. Question 9. The milk, cheese, and yogurt group are important for and moved in fourth place is Sarah. Let's go to question 10. How many servings of vegetables do we need each day? Okay, we're halfway done with the quiz. Let's see who's leading us. Currently, we've got Mallory, Sarah, Jen, and Kim Coe leading us on the board here. Question 11. How many servings of fruits and vegetables are recommended every day in a healthy diet? Okay, and after 11, we have a new fourth place. We've got Whitney. And the correct answer to that was 5. 5 servings of fruits and veggies every day. Question 12. Which of the following food has the most fiber in it? Okay, and D is moving right on back up. And that correct answer was raspberries. Raspberries has the most fiber. Corn is an example of a lean protein that can replace meat in your diet. Okay, after 13 questions, we've got Mallory, Kimco, Whitney, and Dee taking the top 4 spots. Question 14. Which part of egg has cholesterol in it? And our top 4 are holding strong. And that is egg yolk was the part of the egg with the most cholesterol. Question 15. How many servings of whole grains are recommended every day in a healthy diet? Oh, a little mix up here. We've got Whitney T taking our number 1 spot. Question 16. Which of the following is not an added sugar? Oh, Yvonne is taking 4th place. Let's go to question 17. Which is the healthiest fat for cooking? And our leader is Amy, Jen, Whitney, and Yvonne is still in 4th place, still taking home a prize. And that was olive oil for the healthiest fat for cooking. Question 18. It is recommended that one should exercise at least blank minutes every day. Oh, we have a little mix up. Yvonne is in 2nd, Kim was in 3rd. And look at Team UAMS, y'all have got it down. 30 minutes a day of exercise. Question 19. Which food contains the most fat? Okay, after 19 questions, we've got Amy, Yvonne, Kim, and Mallory in the top 4 spots, and that was mac and cheese for the food that contains the most fat. Last question. Who's going to be our top 4? Which of the following nutrients is not required to be listed on a food label? Okay, and our winners of the nutrition quiz are Amy, Yvonne Chase, Kim Mayo, and Mallory. If you four would please email gethealthy@uams.edu for your prize. We'll tell you how to claim that. Congratulations, you four, and thank you to everyone that played along with us. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you will stick around for the rest of the day's activities. Couple things to look out for. At 12, we have a live cooking demo. And then later at 12:35, we do have yoga for healthcare professionals, which is going to be awesome that you can do anywhere in your office or wherever you are at the moment. So please stick around, and thanks for joining us.
Good day, I'm Michael Yang, and I'm with the Office of Human Resources and Employee Services. And we're pleased to be a part of the Wellness Fair. And so we'd like to share some topics for your enjoyment. The first topic is open enrollment. And open enrollment is going to be held November 1st through November 30th. So mark your calendars. Very important to remind yourselves of those dates because part of those dates includes completing the tobacco pledge. Tobacco pledge is required for all employees who are the policy holder for the medical insurance. Now keep in mind, there's something very important, an important footnote to the tobacco pledge. It's tied to the wellness reward for 2021. Something new for this year only is that the wellness exam is being waived for this year due to the COVID. However, you must complete the tobacco pledge, and the wellness exam is expected to be completed next year, but this year is being waived. Also, mark your calendars when you see the announcements coming out as we get closer to open enrollment, because we will have lab sessions available for you to come to those sessions at different times so we can assist you with your open enrollment needs. Also, if you haven't seen already, we have a new HR website that was recently launched. And so we invite you to visit our new HR website and look through all the items that are posted there. And if you have any questions, you can always give us a call at 501-686-5650. And we always are available 7:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Also, this also ties to open enrollment. Look for a mail out that would be coming to your mailing address as we get closer to those dates. And it will provide, of course, the dates for open enrollment, information pertinent to that time frame, what you need to do, and how to log into employee self-service to complete your tobacco pledge. And that's a very important note right there. You must complete your tobacco pledge during open enrollment through employee self-service. And for any employees who had to retake the tobacco pledge during the summer, you must do the tobacco pledge again during open enrollment in November in order for that to count in January of 2021. Remember, wellness pledge, the wellness exam has been waived, but you must complete the tobacco pledge. Switching gears, as of September 1st, we have outsourced our FMLA process through a third-party vendor called FMLA Source. And I'm going to provide you with the phone number. FMLA Source can be contacted at 833-786-8644. And if you have any questions about the new process, we invite you to contact our leave administrator, Valerie Camper. She's leading the new process with all of our team that's now outsourced through FMLA Source. So if you have any questions, give her a call, and you can call our main number at 501-686-5650, and then we can patch you through to Valerie for your questions. Also, let me provide you with the FMLA source website. It's www.fmlasource.com. We also want to share with you that we have a Dropbox that we recently have installed outside our double doors of HR Employee Services. This Dropbox has been put up as a convenience for those employees who work the night shift, and also it's in an effort to promote the social distancing practices that we have in place. And so you can drop off your forms relevant to your HR needs. If you're departing from UAMS, you can also drop off your ID badge and put it in the Dropbox. And of course, we'll review the forms and clear those ID badges every day as we come in the morning. And also it's important that when you do submit your forms in the Dropbox that you include your SAP number so we can identify the paperwork with you in the system and process accordingly. Next item is that we have a financial wellness link. And that financial wellness link is on our website. And if you click on that link, you'll see a list of workshops that are pertinent to your daily needs for financial wellness, including seminars conducted by TIAA and Fidelity reps. And lastly, our Employee Service Awards will be a virtual celebration on October 27th, and honorees will be notified via email. And that concludes our session for today, and we thank you for attending our session online. We can be located in the Central Building, 4C Wing, HR Employee Services, and we're open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30. And you can also contact us by email at askhr@uams.edu or by phone 501-686-5650. Thank you.
All right, everyone. These next two prizes are brought to us by the UAMS Psychiatric Research Institute and the Employee Assistance Program. So these two prizes will go to Aaron Maddock and Joyce Moore. So Aaron and Joyce, go ahead and email gethealthy@uams.edu. And we are on to the next video very shortly.
Hi, I'm Chaplain Susan McDougall. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the support system that the folks here at UAMS have tried to put together for us during this time of COVID and all the other stresses that come into our lives. Supportive Conversations is a 24/7, 365 telephone number that you can call when you feel like you just have to talk to somebody. And it's going to be answered by people who really care and who are in the field of helping in times of crisis. Maybe it doesn't feel like a crisis to you, but maybe you just feel your heart pounding and this is a night it's very hard to sleep, or you're just being consumed by worries while you're trying to work during the day. Get to a phone and call 686-6890. It's a UAMS number, but it doesn't have any identifiers on it. You don't have to tell us who you are, but it will be answered by someone who will just want to know, tell me what's going on. I've had all sorts of calls on Supportive Conversations. I had one woman call who had just taken her son to school and felt like she might never see him well again because of all of the COVID that is in the community and, worrying about the social distancing in schools and having to go to work. And there's no other option. Your child had to go to school. And at the end of that conversation, believe it or not, she said, I feel so much better just talking through all of my worries with you. I had another person call who could not pay their rent. And her children were in the next room and she had gone into a room and closed the door to try to talk through all the fear that was around her. And how do I cope with this? What do I do with this? The thing I want to let you know, even though the talk I really believe is really helpful and it helps us figure out you know, what we need to do next, just talking it through. There is a team of people that's behind that person, that if you need more help than just talking through it, there are lots of people that we can access to help you along the way. And they're the best people here at UAMS. I mean, there are people I would count on in any emergency to come to my aid and help me figure things out. So it's a simple number, 686-6890. And at the other end of the call is someone who is experiencing the deaths here at the hospital, experiencing the sickness and the folks who are sick of COVID that we're so worried about, and also about our own becoming infected with it. So there are people on the other end of that phone who are experiencing the same sort of money problems and health problems and issues with family and all of the stuff that is the iceberg underneath that we don't see with our coworkers. We are all experiencing it. And sometimes there just takes one more thing. And it might be a small thing. Like I had a flat tire on the way to work the other day, and you would have thought it was the end of the world. Sometimes a simple thing can just be the end of the world for you. I really encourage you to give us a chance. If you're feeling stressed out at all and you just need someone with a loving heart and who's experiencing the same sort of stresses, please give us a call, 686-6890. If we can't help, we have a whole lot of people waiting to help too. And we're all in this together. That's the other thing. We're all coming to this wonderful hospital who's trying to help patients. And the people who work here are experiencing a lot of stress too. So please take advantage of the things that they've put in place. Thank you.
Prizes are brought to us by the EAP as well as the University of Arkansas Federal Credit Union. And these two go to Pam Martin and Rosemary Nabawisi. So go ahead, email gethealthy@uams.edu to claim your prize. Next, we are going into a cooking demo, so stay tuned.
Margaret. It's awesome to join you all at the Virtual Health Fair today. I'm Mandy Corbett. I coordinate Stockton Ready, UAMS's campus food pantry, and here with me today is...
I'm Margaret Polly, and I'm a registered dietitian. I'm the culinary nutritionist for the UAMS Culinary Medicine Program.
So today we're going to combine forces, and I brought to Margaret some of the items that we have at Stockton Ready Pantry. Specifically this Thursday, we'll have salsa and black beans and rice, among other things. So to talk about versatility and substitution and how easy it is to do some of these things, rice specifically being challenging for me personally, we have Margaret here to save the day and show us what's up with that. Stockton Ready, I'll just give you a quick bite on that, serves like over 1,400 active members right now. Every Monday that we're open from 2 to 8 p.m. and Thursday from noon to 6, we see over 250 Stockton Ready members come through the doors and shop, take what they want and leave the rest. So we're an alternative food pantry in that way that we help folks stretch their budget, whether they're a UAMS student, resident, intern, employee, or in March, we partnered with Arkansas Children's Hospital for their employees to also access Stockton Ready Food Pantry. We're all in a challenging times right now with different household makeups and life happening, how it does. So Stockton Ready is here to help save or stretch your budget. Savings up to you, but the stretching that we can do. So I'll throw back to Margaret.
Well, one thing I would like to mention also, since we're talking about Stockton Ready, if you have not volunteered before, please do. I have volunteered quite a few times, and you might be, you know, stacking boxes, or you're greeting members, you're helping them navigate through, because sometimes there's some new people. But I was always impressed by the quality of the food that is there, okay? And you know, there's some convenience foods too, because let's face it, we all use convenience foods, but there's a good mix, and also some fresh vegetables and fruits.
definitely.
And everybody is just so happy to see this. So anything else to mention about Stockton Ready?
Well, I mean, we can cover a lot of bases. I really appreciate you bringing up the volunteering, Margaret, because yeah, how can I volunteer? Do y'all need stuff? Can I donate cash or canned goods or again, your time as a volunteer? When are y'all open? Where are you? All those questions and more can be answered at our website, which is go.uams.edu/stocked, as in Stockton Ready. You can just Google Stockton Ready too. We come up like super the first people when you just Google the phrase Stockton Ready, REDDIE. So yeah, you can sign up to volunteer. It shows you all the times that we need volunteers, and it talks about what you'd be doing. And again, if you'd like to donate, aside from the kindness challenge that Annabeth was so helpful in setting up for us, the red and wooden boxes that are at all the screening locations right now, we're taking donations there. But again, time is a huge donation in and of itself, your time and your manpower and woman power and all that jazz. So yeah, so again, all the members come in and shop. It's super cool because again, everybody gets to take what they want and leave the rest. And then we do some Facebook Live videos, or we have even a Pinterest page and our Facebook group that's private that we just share different recipes, what we're doing with the foods that are at Stockton Ready and how easy it can be. Again, I'm so excited
it's really a community. That's what I feel is when I go over there. It's our little UAMS community, and we are serving our community. And I'm just real happy that we can do this for everybody. So today we're going to be making one of my favorite dishes, which is a Cuban black beans and rice. Now, I was showing Mandy this. This you can always tell how. My favorite recipes by how many stains are on them, or how many times I've scribbled in the margins of a cookbook. So I've been making this recipe since 2007. I was probably making it before that because I used to live in the Miami area. Now, why I chose this is often we do have beans. We either have the dried or we have, and these are spicy black bean, which I use this time just because I got up this morning and cooked instead of, with the black beans, you do have to soak them. But this is a favorite recipe of everybody I've served it to, everybody. Now, the other thing is, when we were talking about what else we're going to serve, I made some rice. Now, this rice is Arkansas rice. Of course, we are the largest rice producer in the country. This is golden rice. The cool thing about this, it is a whole grain rice, but it looks like white rice. So you got the kids that are a little fussy, or husbands or wives are a little fussy and they don't want that whole grain feel in their mouth. This is a lot softer. Okay, it's like buying that white whole grain bread. Okay, it's easier for people that don't like the whole grains to eat, and it cooks like the regular white rice as well, which is wonderful because it only takes 20 minutes versus 45 minutes for the regular brown rice. So I made this, like I said, this morning, but I wanted to show Mandy this trick that I do, and I learned this many years ago. Rice you can see how nice and fluffy this rice is, okay? What you do is after it's done cooking, just kind of take a fork and stir it up a little bit, and then take a paper towel or a kitchen towel, whatever, something that goes across. What's going to do, see that condensation? That's what makes your rice all mushy and sticky. So you just put that right on over, boom, okay? And it stays drier, which is nice. So I like that. So today, along with, I could just show you how to make this, but I already made it. But what I wanted to show you is how versatile this is. So I've kind of got into my pantry. I got into the Stockton Ready pantry. I went into my garden. And I'm also going to show you how to take the same recipe, okay? I like to, we call it cook once, eat twice, or sometimes in my house it's 2 or 3 or 4 times. But repurposing leftovers is a great way to not get bored with what you're eating. It's a great way to do batch cooking. So you cook a little bit in advance, so and eat it throughout the week. So along with this, we're going to next make a black bean soup. Another favorite of a lot of people's, and because it already has a lot of the spices in it, it's not going to have too much. You don't have to add too much more to this. By the way, this one, this recipe happens to be vegan. There are no animal products used in it. It does have olive oil, so if you're, you don't want the oil, you can always soften your vegetables in some broth beforehand instead of the olive oil. Okay. I will be using some animal products like yogurt or cheese, just a little bit in moderation. That's what we believe in with a Mediterranean diet. We just don't, which is what we teach with culinary medicine. All foods have their place. It's just how the quantity and the quality. All right, so I'm going to take this off the burner. Well, first I'm going to serve it up, okay? Because I just think it looks so pretty.
Smells delicious.
Oh, yeah, it
as
smells
well.
great. I know everybody is lining up at the door for this. So we're going to use rice would be 1/3 of a cup. And I know many people use a lot more than 1/3 of a cup, and that's okay. But what you want to realize is, especially if you're counting carbs, if you use 2/3 of a cup or a whole cup, I mean, that's a whole cup would be 3 servings. That's a lot, okay? So, but you can also put on about a cup of black beans here, okay? All right. Can you see how pretty that is? Now, you can also, if you like, put on a little cilantro. I would probably do that. This is my favorite. I like to squeeze some lime. That's the way I like to serve mine.
Well, listen, and this is what's cool too is, do you have a lime? I'm going to use it. Is there some cilantro
I'm sorry?
in the garden? I'm going to use it. Like,
Yeah.
you use what you have.
Oh, yeah, use what
you
you
may not
have.
put cilantro on it one time when you don't have it. So
If you have green onions, throw some green onions on that. If you have a little sour cream or yogurt, throw that on. It doesn't matter. I like to think of recipes as just kind of a guideline. You know, I'm a little
unless
loose
you're
with
baking, maybe.
Hmm?
Unless you're baking, maybe.
Baking,
But otherwise,
baking,
savory
yes,
stuff.
baking. I'm not a baker. There's a reason for that. So. So.
But you can be very loosey-goosey into your family's preferences too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like not into tomatoes, then don't put the tomatoes, just the
That's
beans
right.
and all the green stuff and
Yes.
the onions and the peppers
Yes,
and the
and this actually called for green peppers, but I had a red pepper. That's what I use. So I'm going to next think about what I want to make. Okay, so this rice is.
There's so many things to do.
There are so many things to do. I'm just going to keep that down
Or
there.
that you can do with this. Yeah.
I'm going to put this over here. All right. So next we're going to make the black bean soup. So because, like I said, it already has onions, it has peppers, it has garlic. By the way, all these recipes are going to be on the Get Healthy UAMS website. You'll probably put it on Stockton Ready as well. So I'm going to put a little olive oil in there. Again, something that's nice and heart healthy. And this recipe, I'm going to follow it very loosely because, again, I'm using something else to repurpose. So I am going to throw a carrot in here in a black bean soup.
Because why not?
Why not? That's right. It's a great way to get an extra veggie in. I already washed this, by the way. You always want to wash your veggies beforehand. Now, if you wanted to, you know, if you taste it and you said, it's a little bit bland, you can always throw in some more garlic or onion. It depends on what you want. So I'm just going to throw that over there on the side. Okay.
So where are you if you're washing your vegetable,
Mm-hmm.
did I really have to peel that, or is that a personal preference?
Personal preference,
Okay.
because it will get a little darker. I
Okay.
know that some cultures don't peel their garlic or, not the garlic, excuse me, the ginger or the carrots. You're not really losing much. You know, carrots are pretty fibrous anyway.
So not like a potato situation where you want to leave the skin on to get those extra vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
If you want.
If you want. It's all up to you.
That's what's cool about the food you make. You can make it how you want it.
Oh, yeah. It's all about you. You know?
And the people you're serving.
And the people you're serving. That's right. And I mean that truthfully. I don't mean you, but cooking and eating should be pleasurable. You should just really enjoy what you're making, what you're eating, and it shouldn't take a lot of time either. These beans took me about 20 minutes. Now it could have been made even shorter by buying, if you want, you can buy the onions and peppers already frozen in a bag. Boom, just throw them in there. I use the canned beans. Boom, that's done. I mean, how easy is that? So the rice would have taken longer. So,
Then the whole
thing, yeah.
Black bean recipe. Yeah.
So you can smell that's starting to cook. I'm not going, like I said, I'm not going to put in any onions or garlic. I'm going to taste it afterwards, and then the basis of Mexican and Cuban cooking would be garlic, oregano, and cumin. These are 3 spices I always have in my house. So if you don't have fresh garlic, go ahead and use the granulated or the powdered garlic. Make sure it's not garlic salt, that's all. Okay, we don't want anything too salty. While that is sauteing here, it takes a little while to warm up these pans. I'm going to show you another dish we can make. I'm going to take a whole wheat tortilla. And by the way, don't be fooled if it says spinach tortilla or red pepper tortilla. You're not getting a whole lot of veggies in there, so don't go fooling yourself thinking you're going to get a serving of veggies. All right. So this is just a small tortilla. We're going to take some of that rice. You know what I feel like? I feel like I'm on one of those, when you go to those conventions and someone's there with doing the knife skills and the cooking. That's what I feel like right now.
Gather around. Yeah, check out how
I could do that. Yeah. So I'm going to put in a little bit of rice here and kind of put it over here. Okay. And let's see, what else do I want to put on mine?
Timely homage to our wrap station and the cafeteria.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe they'll put this in there, huh? So I'm going to also put in a little bit of salsa that I took out of my fridge, just because I like salsa. I would probably put, let's see what I would put. Maybe some black olives. Again, it depends on what your family likes. I think that's a very good point. You could put some lettuce and tomato in there. All right. Okay, that's still cooking.
Are you going to put
I'm going to put the beans in now. So just going to put, I got a few things going on here, Mandy. I got to, there we go. I am the worst wrap maker ever, I will tell you.
And she's still going to do it. She's still trying.
Oh, of course. Of course. They'll probably go squishing out the end because I always overfill. So, I did. All right, I got to take out some of those beans. Okay.
So you put the sides, then the bottom, and then so you kind of like roll it.
Something like, yes. Right. Okay. So there. Now you have a burrito.
Ta-da! And as
Ta-da.
long as you hold on to it while you're eating almond full soup, it's good.
Yeah. So there's meal 2, right?
And that is something though that you could even wrap up a couple the night before and have it for your lunch the next day.
Absolutely.
You have to do right.
Just pop it in the microwave, and then I would probably.
You could.
Yeah.
Put those in a casserole dish and
make
like an enchilada.
Enchiladas.
Kind of again,
put a little sauce on top.
On stuff because I know that wouldn't be your traditional enchilada or burrito. Or, oh, of course I can get closer to the mic. I'm
Okay.
surprised you're asking me to do that,
So
honestly.
this is cooking. We're going to, I'm going to show you one more while the carrots are still cooking. They're taking a little longer than I thought.
Okay, so already we have the Cuban black beans on rice, the traditional dish.
Traditional dish.
We
Then we
have the
have the
wrap.
burrito.
Burrito.
Wrap, burrito. You say burrito, I say wrap. No, whatever. And then we have a sweet potato, which I baked earlier. And this is a small sweet potato. This is the actual serving size of a sweet potato. It's not those humongous ones. That's like 2 or 3, so beware. Get another dish. I brought my fine china for you all today. So.
Yeah. Your fine china. So see, you could use a regular potato.
You could use
for
a
this.
regular potato, which we have down there.
Roasted red potatoes, like chopped up. I mean, you could use any.
You could use hash browns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So don't limit yourself to,
Yeah.
oh, okay, loaded sweet potato. Okay, it's gonna look like this.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me, patients will say, well, what's better, a sweet potato or a white potato? I'm like, that's like apples and oranges. What's better? They're both good. So, all right.
And that is the potato that you would want to leave the skin on and eat the skin. It's going to be better. Again, you don't have
the white
to, but
potato.
you're going to get
the
more
sweet potato,
nutrition.
people don't always eat the skin with it, but you can. So I'm going to doctor this up a little bit. I'm going to put a little hot sauce on. Yeah, don't be afraid of hot sauce. Your kids might not like it, but you do, right? I'm going to put a little hot sauce. I'm going to put a little feta cheese on mine. That's kind of like the little farmer's cheese. And you notice I just use a little bit, right? That's all you need is just a pinch. Just enough to give you a little flavor because it is salty. I would also put a little lime on here and maybe some cilantro. I didn't have much cilantro in the garden, so I'm sorry.
And that's like so colorful of a dish.
It is.
With your sweet potato.
We really should be eating our colors anyway. That's the way you get the most vitamins and minerals, right? Okay. So there's 3. Boom. How long has that taken? Maybe about 20 minutes. So, all right. Rest of this we're going to throw into.
Which I can hear and smell the carrots already before you added the beans. Smells very good.
And you can use a different bean if you don't like black beans. You can use those pinto beans or something like that. That's not a problem. Whatever bean, I always have candy.
Beans.
You could
put some beans together.
You could.
I don't mind hanging out with each other. Yeah.
Yeah, they're friendly.
And then if it didn't work, then don't do it next time. You can just change it for the next time. So you can keep modifying and playing with your own recipes.
Absolutely. Just keep trying. Okay. Don't be scared of cooking. All right. We're going to be doing some cooking demos sometime in January, which I'm very excited about. We're going to just, take the basics of the Mediterranean diet about, adding fruits and vegetables and nuts and seafood and meat and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're just going to talk about them and make recipes. And we're going to do it on Facebook Live, I believe. So probably from my kitchen. So okay, now I have a potato masher.
Okay.
Because I like to mash my beans up a little bit and it just thickens the soup. Okay. So I am going to prep my toppings. Just a moment.
And then
gosh, I am so hungry right now. I got to tell you.
I know.
This is our lunch.
Yeah. So are you going to add some water or some?
I added the water. Thank you. I forgot the tomatoes. So you don't have to drain the tomatoes.
Haha.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you want, you could also, when you were sauteing up the carrot, you could put a little jalapeno in there. I did bring one from my garden.
And then you can seed the jalapeno.
If you
Take
don't
the
want
seeds
it.
out. Do not add the seeds if you don't want as much heat, because you can always spice it up, put a little hot sauce or this and that. You can't ever
It's
take
just
it
like
out.
salt. You can't take it out, you know? So,
So,
yeah. So do you like it spicy?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like
All
it
right.
spicy. Yeah.
All right.
sure.
So I'm just going to take a little bit off the end here. Again, these are
I
from
like
my
spicy,
garden.
but I like to also taste it. So
I'm sorry?
I like to taste the food.
Yes.
And it be a little spicy.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have to sign a waiver
Right.
before I.
It used to be a joke in my family.
wing
My
type
mother would
thing.
make really, really spicy chili. And if you weren't crying when you were eating it, it wasn't spicy enough. So we're just going to take a little bit.
And so that's the thing too with this soup is she added the diced tomatoes. But if you didn't have that fresh jalapeno, and something we also have at Stockton Ready is that Rotel. So you could substitute or also use, you could use one tomato, one Rotel.
You could use those little canned chilies. Those are good too.
So, which is what, Rotel is just tomatoes and chilies.
Exactly. That's
married
already
together
in
in
there.
one can. Yeah. So you again, this is the whole cool flexible with these recipes. You just make your own according to what you have on hand or what you're in the mood for. Maybe you have somebody over that's into spicy or not into spicy, so you would change it, for that reason.
Right.
And the tomatoes, you could also use the salsa that we'll have Thursday.
That would get a little salty.
You think?
I think. I mean, where's my salsa? Let me just take a look.
So maybe you would.
It's got 11% of the daily value, so that's a fair amount. I would probably prefer to go more with the
diced, or even just fresh or something.
Fresh, or leave it out. It doesn't really
down.
matter. Okay, so we're gonna taste this because remember I took it from one dish to make another, and it might not be properly seasoned. I would say needs a little cumin. Okay, because I just love that flavor. And then I would put a little oregano in too.
See, and that's not one I thought of as being a spice you would use with this.
Oregano?
Herb. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
So I like it. Yeah, right on. Let's do it.
In fact, the recipe.
For like Italian only, then that's how.
Oh no. Yeah. In fact, the recipe. This is the garlic. In fact, the recipe for the black beans call for oregano and not the cumin. And instead, I put cumin and oregano. So, because those are both. Now you smell how much better that smells. Put that little bit of garlic in and.
So to recap again.
Okay.
You just made the soup out of the Cuban black beans, but you can serve those Cuban black beans over rice. You can roll them up into a wrap or a burrito. You can also do like a stuffed loaded baked potato or over roasted potatoes or again, or your mashed potatoes. Heck. So Margaret, with just these few minutes that we have left, I'll recap also that Stockton Ready is open Mondays from 2 to 8 p.m. and Thursdays from noon to 6 p.m. We are in the Monroe building, which again, you can find out where that is, see pictures of how to enter the parking lot, sign up for a volunteer slot, and find out what you could maybe donate or just even see some more videos, photos, and hear about different events and whatnot. Register to become a member of the pantry yourself, all at go.uams.edu/stocked, STOCKED. There we go. So
awesome.
yeah.
And if you don't have time to volunteer, you can have that payroll deduction. I do that as well.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And I mean, Stockton Ready members also do payroll deduct, like to give back. It helps them stretch their budget, and it's convenient. It's right on campus before, and then they mark some things off their own grocery list that they just got at Stockton Ready. Like we have eggs right now, or we have those potatoes. You can keep those and use them along the way for a week or two. Just depends.
Yeah.
So,
and and there's no salary
criteria,
which I think is wonderful.
A member of or that you can become a member of Stockton Ready by being an employee of Arkansas Children's Hospital, an employee of UAMS University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, a student here, a resident or an intern, and we love seeing all the folks. And what I love seeing folks come in and interact with each other, like you said, it's this huge community.
It is a huge community.
Thank
you for all you do, Mandy. Okay.
Margaret, back at you, lady.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Mariela Hernandez. I'm Senior Project Manager of Strategic Initiatives, and I work in the Office of Strategy. We have been working with Vision 2029, as you know, with UAMS 10-year strategic plan. That is to help us manage our vision, which is to lead Arkansas to become the healthiest state in the region through clinical care, research, and education. To do this, we have created a Vision 29 plan, and it's what we call the master plan. This has been cascaded to 30 different areas or divisions that have adopted parts of the plan to create targets that will help us accomplish this overarching goal. To keep track of all these targets, we have a cloud-based solution called Achieve It that helps us enter all this information and manage all these targets. So that's a great achievement because we have trained over 100 people to utilize this platform, added targets to each of the plans, and we are keeping track of it. These targets are due at the end of fiscal year 2021, so June 30th, 2021. However, in the first quarter evaluation, we have already completed over 90 of this target. So we are on track with the goals for Vision 2029. Many people have been involved with the creation of Vision 2029 and with adding this information into our platform, Achieve It. However, this plan belongs to all of UAMS employees, and everyone should see themselves and their work represented in Vision 2029. We would like to thank everyone across this organization that has been a participant in helping us achieve the goals of Vision 2029. Thank you, Team UAMS.
Welcome to the Virtual Health Fair. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for our yoga routine. This year's Virtual Health Fair is hopefully our only virtual health fair. Next year, let's hope that COVID-19 is under control and we can return to our normal annual health fair. But since it is the time of COVID, I wanted to point out that while I don't have a mask on, Marcia and I are socially distancing so that we can practice together safely. We're going to begin with something called mountain pose, and that is the foundation for yoga. So to start out, you're going to move your your feet about hip width apart, and you're going to focus on putting your weight evenly distributed on your feet. And I've got a little video made for you here with footprints. And sometimes yoga instructors will talk about your 4 points of your feet, and people will look down and say, I don't have 4 points on my feet. So you really do. You've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And most of us tend to put our weights either on the outside of our feet when we walk or on the inside, or we push too far forward. And that's why we get such sore, tired, aching feet at the end of the day. So if you spend a few moments to focus on finding that stable, evenly distributed spots on your feet, you'll have a lot more comfort. The next thing to work on when you are working on your foundation is to think about your body as a series of blocks. You're going to stack yourself up. So we are going to put our knees over our ankles, our hips over our knees, our shoulders up over our hips. You're going to scoop your pelvis slightly forward. A lot of us like to twist our backsides out, and that causes more back pain. So scoop your pelvis forward, lift your chest, make sure that the very top of your head is what's aligned with the ceiling, and lower your chin slightly down. How's that feel, Marcia? Very relaxing. Good. And it seems like it's so many things that you're almost stuck in place, wondering, how do I get all of these commands right? But I promise it gets easier with repetition. And we're going to go ahead and start breathing and moving our arms together. It's incredibly relaxing. So when you raise your arms up, Marcia, I want you to breathe in. And then breathe out. Do that 4 more times. Arms up and out. Up. In, down, and out. Up and in, down and out. One last time, up and in, down and out. Great. Now you may have noticed that I'm still in my work clothes, and one of the points of my video is that yoga is something that can be done by anybody, any place, with almost no props, and you can even do it at work in your work clothes. You don't need to be in yoga pants. So that's a wonderful exercise to do, not just for your fitness, but also for your mental well-being. Timing your movement with your breathing like that has been shown to calm you down, lower your heart rate, and reduce your blood pressure. So go ahead and do it. Anytime you're stressed in your office or run into the bathroom and take a moment. Marcia, if I see you doing this in the hallway, I know that you're a little stressed. Okay, the next pose is called chair pose. So I'm going to turn my body just a little bit so that you can see what we're doing. And you're going to lower yourself down as though you're sitting down into a chair, but of course there's no chair there. One of the most important things is to watch your knees while you're doing it. You don't want your knees to go over your toes. You don't want that strain there. So as you lower down, make sure that you can still see your toes as you go down. Great job, Marcia. And you can make it a little harder by going deeper, or you can keep it easy by staying up high. Both of them help and give you some strength. And then you can modify with your arms. They can be behind you, like you're going to dive into a pool. They can be in front of you or out to the side. Or for the fullest, intense position, you can have them up in the air. Marcia, you are a star student. I follow directions. So go ahead and take 3 slow, deep breaths in this position. Most people, even those who are a little athletic, will feel some tension in their thighs. This is going to give you a little workout, give you a little sheen, a little glow on your face. Are you feeling it? I am. Awesome. One more breath in and out, and let's come up. And arms down. And have you get back into that foundation position again. So distribute your weight evenly, stack your joints up, tuck your pelvis forward, chest up, chin down. And this time we're going to go into a forward fold. Now everybody has different levels of flexibility, and that's a-okay. So you do what's comfortable for you. You can keep a little bend in your knee to protect that joint. And you want to make sure that you bend from the hip. So all of your attention should come here. You can put your hands on your hip to remind yourself to bend from there. You don't want to round your back. And then just slowly move forward. And because everybody's different, some people will bend to here. Some people will use their shins to hold themselves up. And some people can reach the ground. Marcia, where do you feel that? The right. The back of your legs? Yes. Good. And you're always welcome when you're at home to take a stool or another chair and use that to support yourself, because you want to stretch, but you don't want pain. And you can keep progressing. You'll get a little bit more flexible every time that you do that. But for now, just try to take 3 slow, deep breaths in that position. And while Marcia is finishing that up, I just want to show you that this is also something that you can do in a chair. So you can scoot to the front of the chair, put your legs out in front of you, and then slide forward. Again, make sure to bend from your hip, not your back, and support yourself only down to where you are comfortable. But this also gives you a great stretch in the back of your legs. And then come up slowly. You can walk your hands up your legs to protect your back. And come back up. Oh, my glasses. All right, and we're going to do one more kind of forward fold. And this is called a wide leg forward fold. And it involves a twist. So just get your legs out to a point where it's comfortable for you to stand with your legs spread like this. Make sure you're still stacked up. It's easy to forget, so you want your hips over your knees still, your pelvis tilted forward. And once again, we're going to bend forward. But this time when we get to the bottom, or to whatever part is the bottom for you, we're going to twist. So if I were struggling at all with my flexibility, I would grab a stool or a chair or a yoga ball, and I would use that to give me a little support while I'm twisting. So Marcia, go ahead. Hold down. Perfect. She's already ahead of the teacher. So you touch the floor and then twist to the right. Then you want to open your chest to the side wall. This way you're feeling a stretch in the back of your legs.
in your hips, but also your back. And this is a wonderful one for people who work in office settings and they're stuck at their desk all day long. Backs get so tight. So we're going to do a couple of twists today. Switch sides, open up to the left. And Marsha, you do a little more on each side. And I'm going to show you how you can do this one in a chair. So just like you did the forward fold seated before, you have your legs out in front of you, but widen them a little bit. And you can take your left hand, put it over your right leg, and twist like this. If you're feeling strong and stable, you can go a little bit lower and twist again, but don't fall off the chair. We do have an excellent emergency department here. Let's avoid injuries. And come back down to center. Come back up to center, excuse me. Grab the arms of your chair, put your feet back up underneath you. And let's return to mountain pose. Awesome. And let's take 2 more deep breaths in and out with our arms up in the air. Breathe in. And out. One more time, in. And out. And we'll move on next to our prone positions. Our first prone pose is table. So Marsha, will you demonstrate that for us? You'll be getting down onto the floor on your hands and knees. And just like mountain pose, you want to make sure you have a firm foundation. So stack your shoulders up over your wrists and your hips over your knees. Wonderful. And then the move that we'll be doing from table is called cat-cow. And that helps you stretch your spine. So you're going to take the pose of an angry cat. You know how they get when their backs are arched up and they're hissing at you? So your back will be rounded. And when you're doing the cow pose, you'll be just like those cows that you see out in the field with the sway backs. And this is something that you can do in your chair as well. And I want you to watch me and watch Marsha for your variations. But then we're going to tie the moves to our breathing. So when you do cat, you'll be pushing the air out of your belly to round your back. And then breathing in to open up your spine. All right, so I'm going to sit on the chair and demonstrate how we can do that on the chair. Marsha is going to keep doing it on the mat. So breathe all your air out into cat. And then breathe in. Curve your spine like that swaying back cow. 4 more times. And in. Arch your back. Out. And in. Wonderful. And in. And then let's go back to a nice, flat, straight back. Neither cat nor cow. Good. Okay, our next move is going to be something that I call wobbly table. And it helps you strengthen your core and stretch out your legs a little bit. So Marsha is going to demonstrate for us by opening her right leg and pushing it back. Wonderful. Flex your foot. Excellent. So you might feel a nice strengthening in your abdominal muscles just from that move, and that's great. I'm going to have you level your hips a little bit more, Marsha. Perfect. Bring that right side down. Now, if you want an additional challenge, you can lift up your left arm as well. So put your right leg back. Excellent. It makes you feel like a wobbly table, doesn't it? Yes. So that's also a pose that you can do in a chair. So go ahead and put your left leg behind you, Marsha. Flex that foot, keep your hips level. And then put your right arm out in front of you. Right arm. That makes more sense. If you can stay balanced with nothing down on the left-hand side, we'll be very impressed by you. So in the chair, you would raise your right foot up, and that causes some strengthening right there. You can do the same thing on the other side, and if you want to make it a little harder even, use your left hand and your right foot, and switch over to your right hand and your left foot. And I like to hold on for about 1 breath per side. So right side, and switch to the left. Left leg out and back. Great. Marsha, will you get 2 more cycles on each side for us? Awesome. So there's a lot of ways that you can work your core muscles without doing any sit-ups. And this is a really great option. It doesn't just strengthen your belly muscles, but it also helps strengthen your back, which is really important. Thank you. All right, we'll let her finish up. 1 more on the, or was that a complete cycle? Perfect, okay. So she's back at table now, head down, flat back, and we're gonna sink into child's pose. Now you'll see with child's pose that it's named because of the shape you take. It's almost like a child in a mother's belly. It is one of the best ways I know to open up your low back and stretch across your upper back. So from table pose, you're gonna scoot your backside back till it's close to touching your heels, or touching your heels if you can. Now every body is different. So for some people that's not really comfortable. It may be too much pressure on the knees, or they can't sit on their heels. So there's some modifications that you can take, and we'll have Marsha show you those. One is to take a pillow or a towel and to tuck it between your backside and your heels. That gives you a little support while you're bending into it. Another option is to tuck it under your feet, so that if it hurts for you to have your feet pressed down on the mat, you've got that support. And then the other options are putting the towel under your knees, so you've got cushion right there while you're working. Wonderful. And then finally, you can take a pillow at home and even just lay that down the center of you and lean forward over that pillow, and that gives you a lot of support. You could do this in a chair too. So earlier we did a forward fold with our legs straight in front of us. To do it in a chair, just keep your legs bent and lean forward. And you'll get that same opening in your low back. And curl down a little bit and get a nice stretch across the upper back as well. Stay down in child's pose for a couple of minutes, or at least for 5 breaths. It's so relaxing. And go ahead and breathe nice and noisy. Take a deep breath in and let out that air. Two more breaths. Okay, Marsha, you stay in that pose. I hope that felt good to you. Adulting is hard, so it's nice to be a child, even if it's for a couple of minutes. We're going to do one more pose while we're prone, and that's called thread the needle. So Marsha, if you could lift up your head and your chest just a little bit, perfect. She's going to take her right arm, and she's going to slide it underneath her left arm. You see the back of her hand is on the ground, and then she just leans forward again, and she'll feel a wonderful stretch in this shoulder. That gets so tight when we're keyboarding all the time. And no matter what your position here is at UAMS, you're spending a lot of time on a computer. So that really does a great job of opening it up. You can do this pose in a chair too. You don't need to be on the floor. So sit up straight again with a nice foundation and take your right arm across your chest and just hold a little pressure against your elbow. Take 3 deep breaths. And then you can switch sides. So I'll just take my arm down. She's going to go back to child's pose, and then she's going to move her left arm underneath her right side. Yes, I didn't say it right. And press that shoulder down with her right arm out in front of her. And in the chair here, I'm going to take my left arm across my body, put a little pressure home back on that arm, and just take 3 more deep, relaxing breaths. She can come back up to table, and we'll move into some seated poses. We're going to start our seated poses in something called easy pose, or if you're in kindergarten, they call it crisscross applesauce. So you've got your legs crossed in front of you. Now we're going to be doing a bunch of different stretches in this pose, so I want you to be comfortable while you're doing it. Marsha has a towel next to her. I'm going to have her tuck that under her backside so that she's sitting just on the edge of it. A lot of people find that that gives their hips a little ease so they can sit more comfortably in that pose. Right, and I'll be here in the chair showing you the chair variation for everything. We are going to start out with some neck stretches, and I think that you'll find these feel great after the tension you may acquire during the day. So let's begin by turning our heads to the right. And you're going to look at your right shoulder, or look over your right shoulder. Release a deep breath. Return to center. And let's look to the left. With your chin towards your right shoulder. Breathe in and out. Great. Return to center. We're going to do a stretch that's really similar, but you'll feel it on a different part of your neck. Once again, you're going to turn to the right, but not quite as far. And then this time, look down so that your chin touches or gets close to your chest. And a deep breath in and out there. And then lift your head back up before you come to center. Great. Same thing on the left side. Look to the left, bring your chin down, take a deep breath in and out. Lift your chin up and return to center. I'm going to have you take your hands and clasp them behind your head. And then lower your chin to your chest. You can use your hands to put just a little bit of pressure on the back of your head to make a more intense stretch, or you can just let your hands rest there. Take a deep breath in and out. And then lift your chin back up. And we're going to look to the sky. And this time, instead of pushing, your hands are going to support your head. Take a deep breath in and out. Great. Unclasp your hands and return your hands to your side. Now we just did one in each of those, but you can repeat them several times to ease your muscles and feel better throughout your workday. We're going to now do some shoulder shrugs. So this is easy. Just lift your shoulders up to your ears and release them down. Try to time our breathing with that. Breathe in as you go up and down and out. In and up, down and out. Out. One of my favorite shoulder stretches is coming up next because even though I do a lot of yoga, I still find myself with some bad habits. I crunch over my keyboard while I'm working too hard. So I'm going to turn a little bit sideways so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to stretch our shoulders back. And you've got two ways of doing this. You move your hands behind you. If you're a stretchy person, you can stretch your arms out straight, lift those hands up. If your stretch isn't developed yet, go ahead and just focus on keeping your upper body straight with your shoulders up and back and clasp your hands together. You can just keep those elbows bent if you'd like. So whatever makes you feel the most comfortable and gives you a little stretch and relieves the tension is the right variation for you. Take about 3 nice slow deep breaths in this. You'll find when you breathe in, it actually intensifies the stretch a little bit. Last out. Great. Now we're going to stretch in the opposite direction. And this one has the added benefit of giving you a hug. And we could all use more hugs in our life, especially now that we've got COVID and can't be doing it as comfortably or as freely as we did. So take your right arm and clasp your left shoulder. Take your left arm, do the same thing. Give yourself a little hug. You can even give yourself a squeeze and a sway while you're doing it. And relax your hands down. And let's just do it with the opposite arms. If you like a more intense stretch, you can clasp a little bit further back. I'll show you how I'm doing that. Grab your scapula or your shoulder blades. Give that a squeeze. And then one other option is to do something called eagle arms. So you see how we crossed arms when we hugged? This is a tricky one, but you can add an additional twist by bringing your hands back together. If you're going to do that, make sure you do both sides. Do you feel stretch, Marcia? I see from your eyes that you're feeling the stretch. It's such a nice one though. We really do a lot of activities that increase tension in our upper back. So I love to release them this way. Okay. Shake it off. I want to roll your shoulders a little bit. Tilt your head side to side. And now we're going to start doing some more stretches for your low back. So just as you are, with your legs crossed, you're going to lean forward slowly. Wonderful. Put your hands out on the mat in front of you to support you. Do you feel that stretch in your low back? I do. Yes. So you'll get a great stretch in your low back with that pose, and it also helps to open up your hips. If you do a lot of sitting, or if you have a lot of emotional stress in your life, you will most definitely have tension in those hips. Love to release them this way. If you are in the chair, you can cross your legs like this. I've got my feet crossed on the floor, and do the same thing. I just really want to ask that instead of curving your back when you go down, that you bend forward like this at first, and then you can release over it. And while you're in this pose, again, you don't have to go as far down as Marcia did. She's being an amazing student today, but that's a great distance to go. You can also put a pillow or that another rolled up towel in your belly and curve over that. Great. Just as long as you get a nice release of tension there, you're doing it right. And then take about 3 deep breaths in and out. Use your hands to walk yourself up so there's no strain to your back from that movement. And we'll do our last seated pose with a twist. So stay in your cross-legged position. I'm going to have you take your left hand and put it on your right knee. And then take your right hand, and if you're on the floor like Marcia is, put it on the floor behind you. If you're in a chair, put it on the chair back and twist. Don't twist any further than it's comfortable for you. You should feel a nice opening in your low back, but it's not a competition against anyone else or even against yourself. We're doing stuff that is good for you. So breathe in and straighten. Breathe out and twist. 2 more times. In and out. Straighten and twist. And slowly allow yourself to move back to center. This time we're going to put our right hand on our left knee and move our left hand either behind us on the mat or on the back of the chair. Breathe in and twist. Straighten and breathe out. Up. And then allow yourself to slowly come back to center. We're almost through the cool down. We're going to do one more pose and then we'll rest and relax. So Marcia, if you spin around and lay down on your back, I'm going to stay seated. Go ahead and bend your knees with your feet flat on the floor. And you're going to take your right ankle and cross it over your left knee. I'm going to do the same thing here in the chair. And Marcia, you can grab your left thigh with both hands, and there you go. Yes, the back of your left thigh with both hands. Press your hands behind it. I'm so sorry. And pull it close to you. I am in a modified pose. This is a good enough stretch. You can maybe give yourself a little pressure right here on your right knee to open things up. But most people feel a really terrific stretch right here on their right hip. So take 3 deep breaths in and out. And then Marcia, you can go ahead and let your left foot fall back to the floor. Release your right leg. And do the same thing on the other side. You'll take your left ankle and cross it over your right knee. Oh, great, you got it already. Pull your right leg to you. That increases your stretch. If it's too much of a stretch when you're on the floor, you don't have to pull your leg to you. That's just the next step. So whatever is attainable and comfortable for you. Take 3 more deep breaths here. Good job. Go ahead and let your right leg return to the floor. And before we finish, I just want to tell you all, great job. Thank you for taking the time to do this. You take care of other people all day long, whether it's directly or indirectly, and it's so important that you take time to take care of yourself. Yoga is an awesome way to give ease to your body and mind and make everything feel better. And the more you do it, the better you feel. So we're going to finish with something called resting pose. So Marcia, go ahead and let your legs straighten in front of you. Good. And you can put your arms down at your sides, or you can have them open, whatever is most comfortable for you. And the best part is, you just get to close your eyes and relax now. Take a little miniature nap. Breathe in deeply. Fill your lungs up with air. Release it. And do at least 5 to 10 breaths. And let yourself relax from the top of your head, down through your neck, your shoulders, chest, Feel the relaxation in your abdomen, your hips, and let that even move down your legs and into your feet. You deserve a break. Let yourself have one. And have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, our next two giveaways are from the Employee Assistance Program and are going to Katie Whited and Edgar Meyer. So Katie and Edgar, go ahead and email gethealthy@uams.edu. And for this next video, Emotional Wellness Tips with Dr. Haynes, make sure you tune into the very end to hear some more tips, as well as staying tuned for our last giveaway. Enjoy.
Good morning and welcome to the UAMS Virtual Health Fair. I'm Tiffany Haynes and today I'm going to be talking about emotional wellness and our move guide. So we started this project because we're thinking about emotional wellness and we know that here in Arkansas, people are dealing with emotional health issues. And that's especially true right now during the pandemic. So this little guide is going to come in handy with helping you understand and identify what's going on with your emotional health and know some tips that you can do at home and how you can connect to professionals if you need some extra support. So it's actually a small little booklet, but it's really powerful. It starts with our first letter M, talking about Mark, and it has all the things that you need to be looking at if you're thinking about your emotional health. So thinking about your eating, thinking about your sleeping, thinking about what you're doing with your friends. These are important things that can just give you a little bit of a clue that something is going on with your emotional health. And then once you mark it down, we have some other guides that you can do, like owning your emotional wellness, which means what are the things that I can do to be emotionally healthy? And it's making sure that you're eating well, that you're exercising, that you're spending time with people who give you energy. All of those things are important for your emotional wellness. And this is just a way to remind yourself that you need to do things for yourself. After you own it, we talk about visiting a professional. And everyone wants to talk about, psychology right now, and psychologists and having a mental health professional, but we don't always know how to get to the people that we need to get help. This guide tells you some quick and easy ways that you can find a professional in your area and visit them so you can get that extra support on your emotional wellness journey. And then finally, we talk about the E, which is expect to keep working at this, right? So a lot of times we think about emotional wellness and we want to do things one time or two times, but this is a lifelong journey. We want you to always be working on your emotional health. And so this is, again, just a little bit of a reminder that every day you can do something that's going to help you be emotionally healthy. So I encourage you to pick up this booklet. You can contact the Center for Health Literacy, and we do have some in print available for you. You can email the Center for Health Literacy, and their email address is healthliteracy@uams.edu, and they'll be happy to get some of these booklets out to you. And when you get yours, share it with your friends and family, because again, we all are dealing with some emotional stress right now, and we can all use some tips to be emotionally healthy.
Gracias, doctora Haynes, por trabajar con nosotros para desarrollar esta importante guía. Mi nombre es María Rubalcaba, soy la administradora del programa de los servicios en español del Centro de Alfabetización de Salud en UAMS. Buenas noticias, nuestra guía, Cómo dar un paso para el bienestar emocional, ya está disponible en español. Yo trabajé con profesionales de cuidado médico hispanos y miembros de la comunidad que hablan español para adaptar la guía en español. Queremos aumentar el conocimiento y la conciencia del bienestar emocional en la comunidad hispana, la cual es la población minoritaria de más rápido crecimiento en los Estados Unidos. También estoy trabajando con el Instituto de Salud Digital de UAMS para crear un módulo de línea en español que será gratis y estará disponible para todos. Para obtener más información, comuníquese conmigo al 501-296-1571 o visite nuestro sitio de internet a healthliteracy.edu.
Hey, this is Dr. Tiffany Haynes again, and I have some tips for how you can work on your emotional wellness, especially right now in the midst of COVID-19. First things first is to remember you are not alone. Everyone is experiencing some stress right now. Everyone is having some emotional health issues. So don't feel like you're all by yourself. It is okay right now if you're not feeling okay. In fact, it's normal right now if you're not quite feeling okay. So extend yourself some grace. That is the word of the season. A lot of times we put these expectations on ourselves and we want to be as productive as we usually are when we're not going through a pandemic, but we are going through a pandemic. It is okay if you're not your best self right now. Extend yourself some grace and extend the people around you some grace. We also want to just remind you that social connection is still very important. I know that we're physically distancing ourselves so we can stay safe and healthy, but we still need to find ways to be connected. So be intentional about making time for your friends and family and be creative. This is a time where you want to use your Zoom. You want to do drive-bys. You want to call on the phone. Don't think that just because we can't do it the way that we used to do it doesn't mean that it's still not going to be good. So it may be different, but it can still be good, solid social connection. And if you do need someone to talk to, it's okay to get help. It is okay to reach out to professionals. That we have, our mental health professionals are working very hard to be able to provide services via telehealth, via your phone, via Zoom, so that you can get the help you need while you're inside your home. So don't be afraid to reach out. You can contact resources like UAMS, you can contact the EAP, you can contact Student and Employee Health here, or you can go to places like NAMI, Arkansas, that will help connect you to mental health resources in your community. But you're not alone, so don't be afraid to reach out for help. And at the end of the day, do something fun, do something that recharges yourself. Very easy right now for us to say, oh, I'm just gonna go home and lay down. There's nothing to do. I hear people saying all the time, well, what else are we gonna do? There's nothing for us to do. Find some fun. Find something that's going to recharge you. Find something that gives you energy to do right now. Even if it's something as simple as walking around your block or baking cookies or painting a painting, whatever it is, find something that you can do that's going to recharge your emotional wellness tank.
Our very last prize here is sponsored by the Federal Credit Union of University of Arkansas, and that is going to Catherine Woodrow. So Catherine, again, email gethealthy@uams.edu. Also, I would like to take this time to talk about the STEP challenge that the UAMS Fitness Center has put on for the past month. We have had 77 participants, and it's just our way to try and engage both remote workers as well as those who are coming to our center physically and around campus. And during that challenge, we had our winner, Suzanne Carlisle. She walked over 55,000 steps. I think it was around 57,000 steps. So that's a lot of steps. And Suzanne, you can get your prize in our fitness center. Great job, everyone.
Thank you everyone for coming to our first virtual health fair. If you need any information, please visit gethealthy.uams.edu. And thanks for making this pretty painless. Thanks, guys. Bye.